Hello everyone, welcome back to Learn Chinese with Silas. If it is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more exciting Mandarin lessons. Today we are diving into an essential aspect of Mandarin that will help you sound more natural and fluent. We are discussing tonal change, a fascinating phenomenon in Mandarin pronunciation that often perplexes learners. Tonal changes refers to the variations in phonemes and tones when several syllables are pronounced together. It is a crucial concept to grasp for anyone learning Mandarin. Well, there are many tonal changes in Mandarin. The prominent ones are tone change, neutral tones, arization, and variable pronunciation of R. Today, we will specifically focus on the tone change of the third tone. Before we begin, let's review the four tones of Mandarin Chinese. The first tone is a high flat sustained tone, represented by the tone number 5-5. For example, ma. The second tone is a rising tone, starting from a mid-level pitch and rising to a higher pitch, represented by the tone number 3-5. For example, ma. The third tone is a falling, then rising tone, represented by the tone number 2-1-4. For example, ma. The fourth tone is a sharp, falling tone, represented by the tone number 5-1. For example, ma. Please take note of the tone numbers for these four tones, as they are crucial for our upcoming learning. Before we discuss tone changes, we need to clarify when the third tone does not require a tone change. The tone remains unchanged when pronounced alone or at the end of a phrase. Let's take a look at some examples. 里, 起, 米, 千里, 我爱你. When the third tone undergoes tone change, there are two possibilities. It can change to the second tone, or it can retain only the first half of the third tone. For example, 马 becomes 马 and 马. Now let's take a look at the first rule for tone change of the third tone. When two third tone syllables are together, the first syllable changes to the second tone. For example, 洗礼. Pay attention to the pronunciation. The third tone 洗 becomes the second tone 习, which can be represented by the tone number 3-5. Listen carefully and repeat after me. 洗礼, 洗礼. 领导, 领导. 你好, 你好. This is the normal situation when two third tone syllables are pronounced together. But an exception occurs when the latter of two third tone syllables is changed to a neutral tone. There are two different tone changes before a syllable changes from the third tone to the neutral tone. For this part, it is more of a used convention than a rule, so you need to practice more and remember them. For example, for these words, you should change the first third tone syllable to second tone. 捧起, 想起, 等等, 讲讲, 哪里, 晌午, 小姐, 老鼠. Part 2. For these words, you should pronounce the first syllable as half of the third tone. 姐姐, 奶奶, 嫂子, 毯子, 耳朵, 马虎, 痒痒, 指甲. Now let's look at another scenario for the tone change of the third tone. When three third tone syllables are together, The tone of the last syllable remains unchanged, while the tones of the first two syllables are determined by the semantic pause within the word. When the meanings of the first two syllables are closely connected, and the semantic pause is after the second syllable, it is pronounced as second tone, and then followed by third tone. For example, 展览馆、手写体、洗脸水、涂改史. When the meanings of the last two syllables are closely connected, and the semantic pause is after the first syllable, it is pronounced as half of the third tone, second tone, and then followed by third tone. For example, 纸老虎，有理想，很勇敢，你找死. Now, let's learn the more challenging rule for tone change when three or more third tone syllables are pronounced together. When more than three third tone syllables are connected, it is necessary to determine the semantic pause based on the grammatical structure and semantic density of the words, and then establish the semantic segment to determine the tone change according to the above rules. Remember, when the third tone is in the middle of speech stream and the original tone needs to be retained, only the first half of the third tone is pronounced. It is only at the end of the speech stream that the full third tone is pronounced. Let's look at some examples. The phrase 美好理想 will be divided into two parts, 美好 and 理想. The first syllable of each word changes to the second tone. The second syllable retains the third tone, with the 好 being in the middle of speech flow. So only the first half of third tone is pronounced. Listen carefully and repeat after me. 美好理想，美好理想，美好理想. Another example. 彼此友好，彼此友好，彼此友好。买把雨伞，买把雨伞，买把雨伞. Let's try some more challenging. How would you divide this sentence? 你岂有此理 or 你岂有此理? Which one is correct? And why? Well, the correct pronunciation is 你岂有此理. After division, the syllable 你 stands alone, but it is not at the end of speech flow, so it is pronounced as half of the third tone. 你岂有此理. One more example. How do you pronounce this sentence? 中马场养有500匹好母马. What? Well, we divide this sentence into four parts according to the semantic density of the words. 中马场养有500匹好母马。中马场养有500匹好母马。中马场养有500匹好母马。中马场养有500匹好母马。Now let's learn the last rule about the tone change of the third tone. When the third tone syllable is followed by fourth, second, or fourth tone, the tone changes from 2-1-4 to 2-1, which is the first half of the third tone. The tone change situation is the same when transitioning from a non-third tone to the neutral tone. Let's take a look at some examples for each situation. 首都北京统一女兵祖国海洋语言改良解放土地巩固鼓励尾巴 起来，宝贝，里头。Remember, mastering these tonal changes is a gradual process, so take your time and practice regularly. Incorporating these changes in your Mandarin will undoubtedly help you sound more natural and fluent. That's all for today's lesson. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to practice what you have learned and stay tuned for more Mandarin lessons. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. 再见。